Oh, perfect, perfect. Okay, we're going to get started and get rolling. Technology was a little slow start, but here we are. If before we even begin, you are going to have access to a folder called College Focus Day 2023. I have mine opened right now. There's already a lot of things poured into this content, or poured into this folder as content, and it is crucial for us to get through October 26th together. I will tell you, on your verification form, there will be a question, and it will say, what are the 5 things we all need to be on the same page with, or how we get through the day, or whatever. And I'm going to tell you, it's this folder. If you're giving the test, it's also the checklist, the toolkit, read your emails, and take your online attendance. If y'all hear nothing else I say, know that the 26th, it's an all skate, everybody's reassigned except for S-Hall people, and we all have to be on the same page to pull this off. So let's get started with the slide content. So today it's October 17th, and we are giving this training, and we will have the forms out this afternoon, and they need to be submitted no later than Thursday, October 19th at noon. That's 2 days away. Let's make this a little easier. Yeah, at least I think it'd be easier. Here we go. This is not like how I sent 17,000 emails about being toolkit ready. There's a lot of people that just kept thinking that wasn't them. Guys, when I send something to you and say we need to take care of this, we need to do it. Okay, so this is at a glance. So today we're doing training. It's going to be released by the end of the day to everybody else that isn't on the live right now. And then by Thursday, the verification forms due. Friday, the student links for their room assignments will be shared. It will be an alpha list that I will share. The roster is not to be posted in your Google Classroom because that has more identifiers that we don't need to share, and that's not for student use. The alpha list will not have all of their information that will be easy for somebody to mess with their identity. So there will be a last name, there will be a portion, actually it'll probably be their last name, first initial, or maybe first name. I don't know. I'm still trying to navigate these waters. It's different every time. The birthday will be included, but it won't include the year. So it's not like someone can mess with a student's identity in the information that we release. It will be an alpha. It's not going to tell whether they're in a testing room or not. It'll have their room number. But make sure you go over the different pieces of what the possibilities are for that day. Staff assignments will be released in the folder Monday, October 23rd. Tuesday and the 24th, we'll keep reminding students of their room assignment and the importance of being present and on time. Thursday is the day. A week from this Thursday is College Focus Day. 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students will be taking PSAT. Seniors, majority of the seniors are who our non-testers are. We do have a few students that won't be taking the PSAT, but it's not because they opted out. It's because their educational needs differ a little bit. And so 12th grade, there's a few of those students. There's about 4 rooms of kids taking the SAT, but the majority of them will be in non-testing rooms. Guys, by far, on testing days, our attendance is not at its optimum. So we need to encourage kids to be here, be present, be where they're assigned to be. And then as a staff, we need to make sure that that's where they stay. So if you're assigned to a non-testing room, do not give a pass to a student to go any other place unless there's an emergency. We had a former principal, Mama Marshall, she would say, bleeding, puking, or dying, that's the reason to get out of that room. Other than that, they need to stay where they're assigned to be. I am trying to fly really fast. I'm not going to read every single bit of this. As I said, the alpha link will post in an email on Friday. It'll also be in our staff folder. It will say alpha list, shareable. It's okay to share that. Room assignments are going to be utilized till an announcement is made to go on regular schedule. We are hopeful that that will be 3A, but you're going to have to stay on alert. Remember, when you're monitoring a test, your job is that room, monitoring the test, and it's not to be on your emails or on the internet or anything like that. You can get a lot of trouble for things like that. But you need to occasionally glance or pay attention when your assists come in and say, hey, we're going to go on regular schedule 3A. Hey, instead of going on regular schedule 3A, your room's going to eat at this time, and we're going to go on regular schedule at 4A. The only way we can be on the same page on this day is for you to pay attention to the communication at hand. So make sure you do that. All right. Everyone will submit electronic attendance through a Google Sheet. It's really simple. I'm skipping on down because a lot of these things I've already talked about a little bit. So down here, it says everyone will submit electronically by 10 a.m. Yes, when everyone and their grandmother and all the descendants of your family decide to get on Google Sheets at one time, it's going to say slow due to traffic. Hang with it. Take a break for a minute. Make your initial findings about your attendance. Maybe if you want to make a copy of just your room, and then you can figure out what your attendance is, and then closer to 10, it needs to be finalized. Please don't make our attendance ladies call you, and they will, because that is how they will mark attendance in Skyward for that day. Okay, the student's absent, you type absent. If they're here, simply highlight it yellow. Do not type here. You're just going to color the cell. If the cell is yellow, we know the student's there. All right, if you submit it before 10, make your corrections by 10. I'm going to make it editable the night before, so we shouldn't have that kind of problem with what cells you can type in and can't. There will be a few protected cells, obviously, so that we don't mess up student assignments. But your job, you scroll down to your room, take attendance for your room. Guys, there's no real reason. I mean, I know a lot of you want to get on there at 8:30 and start highlighting away. But if you do that, that's fine. But just know that if it kicks you off, there's not something wrong with the sheet. It's the traffic. We just have to be patient. All right, non-testing rooms. We talked about seniors going to be the majority of this. In the College Focus Day, there's some optional resources. I've also tried really hard. If a student is a senior and they have Texas College Bridge or they have Ingenuity, I've tried to group them together so that we can try to regain some things on this day as well. Our general and PSAT timeline, 7:45 to 8. And I'm telling you this is why you don't know your assignments till Monday, because we always have something that happens, and I can slide a sub into a non-testing room. I can't really slide a sub that hasn't been prepared into a testing room. And just so we're all clear, on this test, this is not a state test, this is a national test, and their rules literally are that you have to be 18 or older and mature enough to handle administering the test. So please know that if I put you in a room to give a test, to assist to give a test in any capacity, that I have the confidence that you can follow directions and do what you need to do. All right, moving on. After the checkout, you're going to go to your assign room and assign testing room to set up. The first thing you need to do when you get in the room is open up your laptop and sign into College Board and get to your toolkit. They have their own online attendance. That's where all the script is for that day. It's all of the content. If you're administering the test, you have to be on there. And then you can place the tickets out, put your do not disturb, but sign up. And then you're going to take initial roll as students arrive. And then you just follow your checklist. Follow your checklist. I cannot say this enough. Now, notice down here, it says 8:45 a.m. We're going to close the doors to the students who show up at this point for testing. Because once we start a test in College Board, then we can't, it makes it really hard. It just makes it really, really difficult to, it's different because it's electronic this year. So like every student's time goes onto their individual computer. When they access the test, their timing starts. And just as an overview of this test, this is why we quite possibly should be able to go to 3A. Kids taking SAT will not be going to 3A. They'll have passes. That's a different thing. But PSAT and the rest of the whole school, if all goes according to plan, we should be able to, because there's only 2 sections. The first 25 questions in the reading section and in the math section determine the rigor of the following 25. So there's literally 2 sections. But there's different timing for each of those. Here's another reason why your monitoring has to be on. And I know these things are not listed here, but they're just things I have to speak to. Your monitoring has to be on because since every timer in the room is going to be a little bit different, kids will get to their time that it automatically shuts them down for a break. They don't leave the room. You shouldn't allow more than one student out of your room to go to the restroom at a time, period. They have to be escorted to go to the clinic. So really, they can put their head down, they can do whatever. But then when that time starts back up, they go back on their computer. Once you read the initial prompt script and get through all the initial directions, you're monitoring, staying in your toolkit and kind of gauging where kids are. You've got to ensure the test environment of the room and that everything's going according to plan. But we got to be on our game. Okay, you'll continue to use your checklist. This is just a rough outline of how it's going to go to get us started. Now, when all the students have completed, once you've got them ready to start or initial start, there's a thing that we're going to do, and it's called a readiness check. And that's before you give them the code to start the test. I'm just saying, what that does is there's some pre-administration things. It takes 5 to 7 minutes, but it will even be on the checklist, and we'll say, skip that part, or this is optional, like we have in the past. And if everybody follows directions, then the timing should be really good. Our hope is that by 9 o'clock at the absolute latest, we've actually given the codes out and kids are starting their real deal test. All right, so this talks about the digital readiness check and what it means. I need you to go back and read these things because this is how everybody's on their Chromebooks, right? So start talking to kids now. I'm starting to email parents now. They have to have a Chromebook. We have limited supply as a backup, and they will go to juniors first because juniors are the ones that are competing for scholarships. I'm sorry, that's the ranking order that it's going to be. So make sure they bring their chargers. When you put a kid in their rooms that day, I know in your mindset you put their tickets out and that is where they should be. But if a kid comes in and their battery's low, we don't have an abundance of backups, but somebody in the room has a charger. Even if they don't have one, get them near a plug. Make sure everybody's generally facing the same direction and you can space them apart, but make it where they can test. Okay, so when students sign in, this is just like START. They don't sign into their Chromebook. That's a big no-no. It won't get them where they need to be. Everybody gets in the room. When you tell them to go have a seat, find their ticket, tell them to restart their computer, wait for further instructions. And then we'll go to the Blue Book app. And this tells you how that works. Once they're in Blue Book, it'll say test your device, and that's how we do the readiness part. All right, the exam setup, we've already talked about this. I've given you a brief overview about it. Here are some of the things it's asking. They'll confirm their name. They'll read and agree to testing rules. They have options to put their phone number in, which that will give them the initial, they'll be the first people to know when the scores are in because it'll text them an alert and say, hey, your scores are in. And then if they're taking PSAT as a junior, we would encourage them to make sure that they do the questions regarding their eligibility with National Merit Scholarship Program. And just so y'all know, in the biggest overview I possibly can about PSAT and the NMSQT scholarship process, a National Merit Scholarship, all of the kids have equal playing field. It is all based on their performance of their test solely. So in the entire nation, everyone that takes this test, the scores are ranked high to low, and the upper percentage of scores Those kids qualify to be finalists and then eventually National Merit Scholars. And I always tell kids, National Merit Scholars, you are getting recruited for your mind, and you can write your ticket to any school you want to go to. So please encourage your kids. We're giving them all the tools they need to be prepared, and even the things that they can go ahead and have an overview on. But why this test is also beneficial is the way it's designed, especially now more than ever, when it adjusts the rigor to the performance of a student. If I have a few more learning challenges than other students, then it's not going to give me the hardest questions. But yet it's going to decipher what my needs are to challenge me, but not make it unattainable, and still let me know what I need to do to be prepared for the SAT. So it's just a huge asset to our kids, and we're doing a great service to them. All right, this continues the different parts of the pre-admin, still that initial setup part. We're not in the real test. Until every kid in your room is in the general space where they've completed this, and you'll know because you'll be in your toolkit, you'll be monitoring. We don't give them the code to start the test. We got to kind of control the environment and keep that testing environment secure. All right, staff assignments. There are so many different roles that there could be, and I'm going to say, you know, they're not limited to the following, but they're pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, you're either going to be a test administrator, whether that's SAT or PSAT. You could be a hall assist. Guys, everybody, there's always someone that looks at someone else's job and go, oh, I wish I could do that. I just need to talk for just a few minutes. My people that are overseers, they have been in and out and in the thick of testing over and over and dealt with really crazy situations, or they're a backup to the backup situation for me. The people in this room, they can answer just about any question or know how to diffuse a situation and maintain integrity of the test and also the confidentiality that needs to happen. It doesn't mean that everybody can't do it, but please don't be envious of somebody else's job. Nobody is sitting around eating bonbons on this day. It is highly stressful. We all have to be on our game, and there is just a lot of pacing and attending to the needs of others. And that's just what we have to be able to do that day. So these are possibilities, but just know that I really do think wholeheartedly about the plan, what it takes to execute, and how we get everybody in the best position we can for each other and for our students. Also, Thursday, October 26th, it should be considered a blackout day. If it hasn't already been pre-approved by Mr. Johnson or Dr. Hatley, I think Cerrone even does those as well. I could be a little off, but anyone that is in that administrative role to approve those, it's not going to get approved. Yes, there will probably be an emergency on that day, and I always say take care of your family first. But other than that, it should be considered a blackout day. All right, if you have questions, ask them. Please don't think we're to the end of training because I got to show you a couple other things. Every time you see this in the slide, go back to the original slide. That if you don't know where the folder is, if you lose the link, if you no longer know my name and can't find my emails, the link is embedded all throughout the slides here to the folder that will have everything you need. I can't help things if I don't understand there's a problem or if I don't know you're struggling. Everybody has to submit their verification form by noon. That includes even if you're our attendance paras or Miss Lynn or front office staff. They get to stop after a certain point, because if they're not doing their normal job, we're all going to collapse. So they don't have to answer all the specific questions that for anybody else on our staff. Okay, but it'll be very clear where they can stop and the role that they have, or what the answer they need to say. Anyway, it's going to be clear. Verification form for everybody else. If you are not in S-Hall, if you are not at the kiosk or in the main office staff, main office or counseling office staff, not counselors, but our counseling office staff, they have a different verification form, and I'll be emailing them individually. Everybody else, you get the whole enchilada, so make sure you take care of it. Remember, the alpha list will be shared Friday. That's the one that you can post to Google Classroom. Staff assignments will be on the same worksheet as your rosters, so look at the tabs carefully. The rosters is where you mark attendance, but it'll have staff assignments as a different tab on that sheet. And if an emergency arises on test day, if you have questions, anything, I'm always accessible. I always give out my phone number. Please put it in your phones now and ask the question. Get the clarifying statements that you need. Again, remind you, content, the day that we're looking at is the 26th. Have your verification filled out in a couple of days. Now I just want to spend a couple of minutes, if I can, kind of out of breath, but here we go. So here's the copy of activities. If you're in a non-testing room, here's just some possible things that kids could be working on. It's a college focus day. So here's things that can be happening. FAFSA is required for graduation, but this is links from last year, and Mr. Lewis is going to be confirming and dropping things or editing things in here. But this is a great place for kids to have access to. Share the slides. And we'll make sure to do that as well. But you can click on things, you can show them just different things that they need to know. This is our built-in time to help educate our kids on what happens after high school. If no one's had that talk with them, take the time to educate yourself and help them. Everybody may not go to college, but everybody's going to have to be an expert in the trade that they have to be competitive and to be the professional that they want to be. All right. There's a seating chart in here. It says SAT, but this is the one that we're using for PSAT. You can start familiarizing yourself. There will be a copy in the test buckets, but it actually says write the last name and as much of the first name as you can fit on there. You're going to cross out desks that you're not using. It's very specific. In addition to this, we have to give, please don't laugh because I didn't make this up. I can't make this up. You will see it. It's in one of, this is something from them. This is a test day guide. You need to know this content. I'm not going to baby you through it. You can tell the things that are important and the things that are no-brainers. It even goes through how to prepare your room and things like that, things you should know, how we take attendance, all the things. Yes, because remember, again, toolkit attendance and Google Sheet attendance on that day. But it has every possible thing you need to know in here. But when we give kids things at their desk, do not start out with pencils on their desk. You can start out with their ticket, but there's a certain time you'll hand out 3 sheets of scratch paper. The College Board is very clear. It must be 3 sheets. It tells them to put their name on the 3 sheets. So what I did is we have 3-sheet packets stapled. So you don't even have to count them. Just hand them the packet, get them to put their name on it. But I have to actually keep all of this scrap paper, whether they write on it or not, has to have their name on it. I have to keep it for 30 days after testing. So there are specifics in here that I know could be laughable and it may seem weird to us, but it also gives us a way that we can investigate these things. So you need to know the information that is in this folder. There's a proctor script. This is practice because remember, we're using the toolkit. Okay, I have thrown so much information at you, and biggest thing I can say is let's talk about the top 5, the folder, your checklist, the toolkit, read your emails, and attendance is online for everybody, testing and non that day. I hope you have a great day. I'll be sending the verification form this afternoon. As soon as this video publishes, I will have sent the link to everybody. I really do appreciate all that you do, who you are, and all that you bring to the table. So if you have any questions, ask, send me an email. My room, we're probably going to be locked down because we're in full test prep mode, and I want to have all the attention to detail and getting people where they're supposed to be. So the best thing, unless it's total emergent, email me, text me. I will get back to you as soon as I can, I promise. And obviously, if you stop by, I'm going to come to the door. I'm not like going to be held up and ignoring people. That's crazy. So thank you for all you do. This will conclude our training for October 26th. Have a great day. Bye, y'all. Thank y'all for attending early.